Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman, and I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, help contractors build great teams. My guest today is 𝗂𝗶𝗿 from BuiltRight Digital. So Chris, tell me a little about your background. I know you're one of the founders of the company and why people should listen to you.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, interesting you say that. Actually, one of the owners, not necessarily a founder, right? And so purchased the business back a few years ago, come from a background in marketing. So I had some other agencies before that, but really wanted to break into this home improvement and home service space. Just a ton of opportunity in the space and really felt that I could serve the clients here. And so that's kind of how I got into it. Before that, did some other stuff as far as consulting and just kind of some different career moves. Ultimately settled on marketing just because of how big the opportunity is. If you can help people make money, there's always a seat for you, and it just opens up a lot of paths later. So that's kind of how I got into this. Yeah.
So I've entered a lot of the marketing agency, and I sort of put them in three categories, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. The first marketing agency is all about looking good. Like, look at, like, this is amazing. Look at this website. It's going to win awards. You're amazing. Just sort of like looking really good. The second is look at the numbers. We produce 7 zillion hits, 16 zillion hits. You're on, you got a million followers, blah, blah, blah. The third one is this is what you spend on us and this is what you made back. It's ROI. So Which box would you be in and which part of which box if you put your agency in some place?
Yeah, we're firmly in the third. And so we are strictly ROI focused. It's about getting people returns. We've heard the feedback too. It's some people, they want all the bells and whistles, the prettiest site that you can see. But a lot of times sticking to the basics and doing what works for SEO and helps people organically and on a paid ad. There a lot of it, like as far as load speeds of a page and some different aspects that affect those rankings, they're not always lending to having bells and whistles in videos. So we are firmly in bucket 3. Our approach generally is to first set up the ad campaigns, start tracking what conversions lead to leads. We're listening to the calls and the quality of the setters at the businesses we work with. We're giving them feedback on that. And so we can kind of help them improve their ability to set those appointments and ultimately close them. And then at the end, we're tracking everything back to by channel. What did you actually close? So what came from organic? What was your revenue from organic? What did you spend with us? What did you close from paid ads? What was your spend on those channels? What was your return on ad spend? And so some clients, they have really robust CRMs and systems in place, and so we can just build all that reporting out into their CRM. Some people come to us and they're literally operating out of their emails, and we're helping them get it set up on a CRM and get a lot of this reporting and analytics in place. But we kind of meet people where they're at and make sure that they always keep their eye on return.
Well, now one of the points of discussion, I guess it's, GEO, not SEO or whatever it is. I mean, there's two big factors, I think, that are changing marketing, and maybe you can comment on. One is private equity, in the sense that AI is disturbing a lot of other places private equity used to go. If you're selling information for money, you're probably in trouble, whether it's an attorney or a doctor or whatever, because AI is just doing it way better, faster, cheaper. Now, on the other hand, so all this money, right, has to go somewhere. Yep. And so there's hundreds of millions. People are getting crazy multiples for their companies because they got all this cash in there. The other thing that's affecting it is when the private equity comes into the service business, like, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, whatever, they've got cash. And so the price of Google Ads keeps going up because they know how to spend the money, right? And what's it cost? Because they're more concerned about ROI and building a company they can either sell off or whatever than they are about how it helps the customer. I may be a little prejudiced that way, but their major driver isn't how do we make life happy for the customer. It's how do I make money with the money I spent. So it's a different kind of, not bad or wrong, just different. So with this coming into the trades, Google ads are going up. AI is doing a bunch of stuff. And I hear recently that Google even figured out a way. It used to be, because AI was sort of non-prejudiced, it would go out and, look at the videos and do a better job of trying to match the client with the best service, even though that service wasn't paying Google the most amount of money, right? And now I guess Google's come up with a way that, well, if you're this kind of a client, you're going to get higher on the AI than you are if you're just not paying us any money. So tell me how that whole landscape is changing. It's sort of crazy.
It is crazy. So, I mean, there's a bunch of pieces you just touched on. There's private equity and how that's changing the landscape, and then the AI piece and how that's changing the landscape. Talking for a second on the private equity side, it really is interesting, and it's something I always try to communicate to the people we work with, where when private equity comes into the space, they are always willing to do anything that gets them more than a 3x LTV to CAC. Said more simply, if their gross profit on the jobs that they're fulfilling is greater than 3 times the amount that it costs them to acquire those customers, they're going to do that and greenlight it all day. And so in the past, right, with Google Ads, you might have a bathroom remodeling contractor where their average ticket's $14K. Let's say they're doing 50% gross, or keep the numbers a little easier for us. Say they're doing a $12K average ticket at a 50% gross margin, right? Their LTV, which pretty consistent metric that most of these firms are looking at, would be about 6.
Explain LTV just for the audience.
LTV is lifetime value, or in home improvement contracting or the services, is just the value that you're going to get from this customer. And so you can use your gross profit on a job as what LTV is in this case. And so if your LTV is 6,000, then any private equity firm is willing to spend $2,000 to acquire that customer. And so let's say that you have a 50% close rate, right? To have a $2,000 cost to acquire a customer, you'd be looking at $1,000 that you spent to get that appointment. Well, if you would spend $1,000 to get that appointment, then, and you can kind of back all the way back to what you would need to spend on a lead. But let's say you only set 33% of the leads that you get end up being an appointment, then that would mean you could spend $333 on your appointment and still be under or on your lead, still be under $1,000 per appointment. And so they've done that math, and so they know exactly what they can spend. And so when a home improvement contractor isn't willing to spend, $300, $400, $500 on an appointment, and that private equity firm is willing to spend $1,000 on an appointment because they just understand that the math works, and as long as they can scale it, they'll grow at a profitable rate. Then they know they can just take everybody's lunch. And so the biggest thing we try to communicate is that, yes, ads are going to go up as you have more competition in the space. It's a fragmented industry. Part of the benefit of being in the fragmented industry is that there is this opportunity, and you can get such a monster return on your spend. And now that's coming down. A lot of people don't like that it's coming down, and they think it means problems. It just means that they need to change the way that they're thinking and just think more like the people that are entering the space, right? And so big thing
it's scary for the mom and the pop. I mean, that, they're looking, let's say you have I'm getting real simple numbers. You have a $2 million company, right? And, most marketing people would say, we got to spend, if you want to grow, you got to spend 10%, which is $200,000.
Yep.
They haven't spent $10,000. They look at $200,000 and go, you're crazy. I'm not willing to spend that on marketing. And to me, the good news and the bad news is that you can get, the private equity is going to buy your business or put you out of business. To be, it's like, they're coming in, it's a Walmartization of it, right? Like Walmart built the thing outside town and sucked all the business from inside town because they were better at marketing and recruiting and everything else, the small guy. So I see that happening in the trades and stuff. And so I would guess what's your advice to how does a small guy compete? I mean, what does he do to compete with these guys. Because the good news is if he does have a plumbing business and it's based on, service, not new jobs, or if he has a HVAC company based on service, he's going to get like a crazy multiple, like 3-6 times, right? EBITDA, which he never could have got before because he's got a buyer. But the downside is if he doesn't play the game, he's going to lose market share.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would say it comes down to two things. One is there's still plenty of opportunity to be way under those numbers I just mentioned. So like when we run ads, like let's say bathroom remodeling, kitchen remodeling, higher ticket general contracting jobs. A lead on a Google ad campaign might be between $150 and $200. If they have a good set rate, then they can be at or under $500 per appointment. And then depending on their close rate, they're well under the cost to acquire a customer. That makes sense for their average ticket. So like we'll have some people where, they'll be at a 5 to 7% cost of marketing on $2 million in revenue for the year. And it's just because we're managing the budgets effectively. They have your good close rates, so they're closing the actual appointments that they're getting. And then we're laying organic in as well, which organic, as you can scale that, it gets infinitely better for you in terms of a percentage cost of marketing because you're not paying any incremental amount on that, which kind of goes back to, and you mentioned that, those new terms, GEO, AIO, whatever you want to call it, it all comes back to it's just organic search engine optimization. It's all the same tools and practices. All those new engines, all ChatGPT is doing is searching Google's repositories and seeing what results to serve. And so SEO, everyone tries to overcomplicate it. It's just, do you create content that matches a search someone's looking for? And then do you create ways for Google to identify that content? And so people talk about backlinks. They kind of confuse it, and they make it seem like this crazy thing. You're getting reputable sites to point to the site you have. Google already knows the reputable sites. As they see those reputable sites point to your site, they'll think yours is reputable as well. You get more and more of those links that show your site is reputable, and you get content to match specific terms that someone might be looking for. And then over time, you start to get those ranked positions. You start to show up in those AI searches. And I mean, like we tell people will reach out to us. They'll schedule calls, find us. They found us on ChatGPT. They found us on Claude, Gemini, whatever the case. And so we just tell them it's not rocket science. We're going to do the same thing for you, that the same way you found us. It's just doing the simple things over and over again.
Now, what about the sales cycle? Where do you there's first you create the content, you get the lead, they book the lead, you make an appointment. You hear some people are using, AI to make phone calls, AI, to do all this other kinds of things. And how far, and do you, if they can't make the appointment, do you consider that your problem or is that their problem if they get the lead?
I mean, it's always our problem at the end of the day, right? Where our client, if they're not making revenue, they're not going to pay us for very long, right? And so if they're missing phone calls, we need to figure out a solution to get the phones answered, and regardless, we'll tell them all day, you're missing out on revenue by not picking up the phone. But, but implementing a solution goes a lot further. It doesn't really matter who's at blame.
So
right?
have you used any AI agents to answer phones for any of your clients? Does it work?
We've used it. I would say it works as a backup. People still like talking to people, right? And so there's AI agents that are efficient at gathering information, some light objection handling, and it's definitely getting a lot better. But people are kind of attracted by this new shiny object. The best thing you can do is still just have a competent person pick up the phone and answer and talk to someone. Ask them what their actual need is and how quickly they can come out and talk to them in person. And so people are almost trying to over-engineer the systems right now.
What about the 24/7 aspect? Do you use a call service? Do you use a I mean, because
Yeah,
a lot of businesses, if you call somebody at 5 and nobody's there, you're sort of done. You know what I mean?
that's where we found the most value in it. And so having it as a in 𝗀𝗄𝗹, which is the tracking system we use, we can set these trees, and so it's if no one answers the phone, it can kick to an AI agent, and then that AI agent can do their best to collect information, set an appointment if possible. It's best as a backup. So off hours, the weekends, say you're already busy on the phone and you're short staffed, it's always best to use as a backup.
Now, so you're going to help them hopefully get the appointment, whether that takes, right?
Yeah.
What if their close ratio is terrible once they get the appointment? Like, and they have 5 appointments and close 1. That affects your ROI, obviously. So do you get involved in that at all, or how do you deal with those situations?
So we suggest resources. There's some manufacturers that we actually work with where they have dealer resources as well. And so we'll refer them out to those reps. Ultimately, we want to see the people we work with succeed. I'd say, I mean, we're not going to show up in person and sell.
Right.
They can reach out to you, Paul, and get some help getting some staff there. But it's ultimately we are going to give them all the resources we can to succeed. We're going to sit down with them, talk to them about their sales process, and see where there may be gaps. But yeah, having a good quality sales professional and someone that can close that lead, and ultimately we just always want to identify, is it a lead problem? Is it a sales problem? And if they find out that they have a sales problem, we can help point them the resources to fix that. But yeah, we're not out.
Got it. So you provide a quality lead in the appointment, then they got to sell it. I get it.
Yeah.
And then who's your ideal client? I mean, you like guys that are doing 20 million, 2 million, 10 million. What's your wheelhouse of clients you're looking for as far as number of employees, gross volume? So people listening to this can find out if you're appropriate for their business.
Yeah, I would say we generally help people from about 1 to 15 million in revenue.
Okay.
Generally that's people that they don't have a full marketing team in-house. They might have a marketing manager that will oversee the different aspects of their campaigns. So they're doing mailers as well. They might be doing some TV as well. And they rely on us for digital and in that lead generation. And we work closely with those marketing managers that they hired or with the owners themselves. But
Or
generally,
you will help like brand building. You can tell them where to go to build brand or where to go to do truck wrap or whatever. You don't do that, but you have connections in those areas, right?
yeah, exactly. So we'll tell them where they can go for different pieces. We'll actually do brand building for them in house, but everything that they need, yeah, getting their truck wrapped, sending out, sending out mailers, doing signs and leave behinds that they can have. We'll tell them where they can go for some of that stuff and have resources for them. But we're just focused on digital and being the best at helping them show and search. Yeah.
Okay. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that, Chris? And do you have like an initial analysis or to find out whether what they're doing is working or not? How do you work that?
Yeah, I mean, best way for them to get in contact through our website, BuiltRightDigital.com. They can actually schedule an appointment right through the site. They can call in, and someone from our team will always answer as well. When they schedule, they can request an audit. And so we can look at their organic performance currently. If they give us access, even view access to an ads account, we can do an audit of their ads account as well. And what we always try to do is we'll just shoot them, hey, this is what it looks like right now. It's going well, it's not going well. This is exactly what we would do different if we think that there's some room for opportunity. And we kind of just take more of a consultative approach, see what they're doing.
And I imagine your pricing depends on how much work you do for them, right?
Yeah, so our pricing really depends on how much work we're doing for them and kind of where their business is at. And so obviously the set of services that a business doing 1 million in revenue needs vastly different than the set of services a business doing 10 million needs to hit a next level. And so we're just designed to help people grow where they're at.
Good. Well, thanks. I appreciate being here. So if you're not happy with your return on digital, I think Chris is a good place to figure out what to, and the whole market's changing. So you need an expert because literally things are changing so fast, it's impossible for the owner to keep up on all this stuff, right?
Yeah, impossible to keep up on all this stuff. And the biggest thing to harp on is things are changing, but a lot of stuff is still the same. And so people get glossy-eyed about AI and what it means for search. At least thus far, we've seen all the same things that impact organic traffic on a Google search page are the same things that impact search on a
So they may have changed the name, but it's the same process, right?
yeah, they changed the name, same process. And some people, it's almost, in a way, it's encouraged laziness. If I leave one thing with your viewers, it's to say, listen, if you can separate yourself as the person that still answers the phone in a world where people get frustrated by the AI agents that they're constantly talking to now, if you can talk to Paul and maybe get someone that's low cost, offshore even, to still be good at objection handling and answer that phone well for you, that's going to be your best bet. If, and the agents will get there, AI agents will get there, and they're definitely a great backup now, but keep that human touch, right? If it's you and the homeowner, and if you can leave a good impression on that homeowner, that's going to be the biggest thing towards growing your business.
Great. I appreciate that, Chris. So if you have a question, Chris is the person to call. Again, it's BuiltRightDigital.com, right?
BuiltRightDigital.com.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Yep. Have a good one, Paul.